money, money, money. Money, money, money. We got that Fly Nubian money. We talk about that money. We all about that money. Money, 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 money. We got that Fly Nubian money. We talk about that money. We all about that money. We love our black skin, our melanin, always focusing in on that money. We always win, money never thin, 'cause we hustling, always focusing in money, 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 money. We got that money, 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 money. We that Fly Nubian money. Boss talk, only we stack it up.
Hey, 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 good afternoon and good morning, depending on where you are joining us from. Happy 5th of May. Happy Cinco de Mayo, right? Are we celebrating with a little tequila? Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. Let's get into this today. So working from home gave people more flexibility, more control over their time, and a better sense of balance. And for many women, it made it possible to manage both work and life in a way that felt sustainable. Now we're hearing that it might be slowing people down at work. Not because they are not doing their job, but because they are not being seen doing it. Promotions, raises, and new opportunities still seem to be tied to who is in the room. So the simple question is, if you are producing results, but you're not visible, does it still count? That's a really good question. I got my ladies here. This is the Queen's Court today. And so I have Nomalanga, I have Dr. Angeline, and I have Aisha. What do you guys think? If you're working from home and you're not in the room, does it still count? And how does it or does it not count? Aisha, what do you think?
Does it count? You know what? I think it depends on your industry. I truly believe it depends on the industry that you're with, and it definitely counts, because if you're doing the work and the results are showing, it counts. So I don't see why there should be that such a huge difference in whether or not it counts or not. But I do believe that it counts, and it depends on the industry that you're in.
Yes, yes. I agree. This was actually interesting to hear that this is like an issue. Nomalanga, what do you think?
Hi, ladies. I think the main word that is important, Aisha actually already said it. It just depends on the results. If you're bringing the results, then I don't see why you need to see my face every single day. I actually believe that if you're part of a team, you do need to see each other's faces once in a while, but not every day. But I will say, though, like some of you ladies, I've worked with you for years and have never seen you in real life. So technology definitely does a lot in terms of getting us to see each other's faces, even though it's not right in person. So again, I'll go back to just results are what matter. And then I can't get off this conversation without saying that if we're talking about careers, my main career is being a wife and a mom. And of course, that makes a little money as well, or a lot. So no, it's not hurting my career.
Okay. And Dr. Angeline, what about you? What do you think? If a woman, and we're specifically, I think, talking about women today, and that's odd that it affects women differently, but we'll get into that. If a woman is not in the office, how does that affect the results, or how the results are seen that she's producing? What do you think about that?
Again, the ladies, I agree 100% with what the ladies say, as long as your results are there. But I have learned that this new phenomenon, right, that's really, really happening to us is called proximity bias, right? And so They want to see, certain industries want to see your face in the place, unfortunately. And so I understand how it impacts us as women. And then there's another whole story of how it impacts us as Black women. But I do agree, as long as I'm bringing the results, like Aisha said, and then like Nomalanga said, as long as you see me right here. We on meetings, right? We're having meetings, we're having conversation. I think if someone is a micromanager, that's when I think problems begin, because I've had the benefit of doing both. So
Thank you for that perspective. The proximity bias, that's very interesting. And I have a feeling we'll probably be hearing a lot more of this as this conversation goes on, just in the world of, the corporate world. By the way, I'm Shalaye Camillo. And welcome, and welcome back to the show this week. I'm so glad that we are back. So my reaction, like I said, this was a little odd to me to hear that this was an issue. Being on Zoom and working remotely has become such a norm that a part of me feels like it's corporations specifically, or employers who feel like they have lost a sense of control over their employees. And this is a way to kind of get that control back. Like, we want you to come back into the office, because on a certain level, corporations thrive off of the hierarchy and you feeling like they have control over you and they can pull that at any time. So I feel like you're at home, you're working remote, it kind of takes a little bit of that away. But let's see what we're talking about today. Let's go to a video and then let's come back and talk about it.
I was better than anyone, but better than my situation, for sure. And just a willingness to do whatever it would take. I feel like I've spent my whole life with my hand up. I always, whenever I speak to people and they say, Emma, how can I get ahead in my job? I'm like, just have your hand up. Tell them, I'll do that. I did everything. I worked such miserable, unsatisfactory jobs for ages, because I was just like, I'll do it. What do you need? I'll go. Wow. Please, may I? Like, all the time, because I was sure that if I could just be excellent and show people that I was excellent, that somebody would find me, that somebody would recognize that there was a skill. And guess what? It totally works, because when I'm looking at people in my business right now, I'm like, look at that person being excellent, the way she packs up the boxes and puts every bit of tissue so nice and writes notes like beautifully. I'm like, that's an excellent person. That's somebody who takes pride in what they do. Like, people notice when you do that.
100%.
They really do. And they notice it in every way. And so I really believe that if you apply yourself and if you work really hard and if you don't try to make it a secret, great stuff is going to happen.
If you try to make what not a secret?
That you're up for it, that you want more, that you're ready to work hard.
And I'm willing to do what it takes.
I want you to be with your hand up.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to come and find you out of 500 people. And that's why I talk so much about, proximity and visibility. I need you there, right in the office, where I can see you, where you can see me, where you can see how I move, where you understand the flow of the business and what we're doing here. I don't want you on a Zoom call. No. I'm uninterested, like, entirely. And again, people are like, oh, but Emma, you're a woman and a mum, so surely you understand flexibility. Of course I do. Of course I understand that. But surely you understand that if you're really ambitious and you want a great career, visibility and proximity is essential. It's not a nice to have. It's just essential.
Yes.
Let's not set people up for, failure. It's like, just be honest about what is needed. You want a pay rise? I need to see you. In the office.
Okay. So she said a lot there. And to me, it all makes sense, right? What she's saying, it does make sense. Visibility and proximity is essential. I wonder if, because she is at the level that she is at, it's easier for her to say that, because maybe she's grown to a certain point where she doesn't have to be in that hard place. But she did say that she did all of the hard things and she raised her hand. How do you show you're excellent from afar? How do you show you're excellent if you are working remotely? Because I feel like there are ways to do it, right? Because people have been promoted through this current environment that we're in and being, working from home and working remotely. People are digital nomads and go off to Mexico and they work. And I bet that this is also a lot depending on the industry.
Yes.
But how do you show you're excellent? Nomalanga, what do you think about that?
I'm glad you talked about levels, because I can't tell how old she is or where she is in her career. But let's say I was about 25, maybe 30, 35, what she's saying was absolutely true. You're still trying to prove yourself. You're going hard, you're ambitious and all of that other stuff. But right now I'm just like, she's talking, I'm like, no, you see, because I'm at a different stage in life. And I've earned my right to dictate my hours. I run my own business. And I think it's very important to say at which stage. I'm actually at a stage where I refuse clients, I refuse money. And it's not a luxury, it's something that I've earned. But when I was 20, 25, maybe even 30, 35, I was there. I was right there. I was trying to, I'll give you a quick story to be short. I remember when I was working as a sales manager I think it was a Hilton property, and I was actually booking for the region. And one of the things that was happening was that business deals and sales were getting closed on the golf course. And of course, these were men. So we ended up learning how to play golf. Because again, it's like if you're removed from something, it can have that thing of excluding you from it. So you have to put yourself in there. You have to talk to people face to face. You got to be with your boss. When they say golf day, you're right in there with them, because otherwise the men will go golfing with your boss and they get the promotions, they get the face to face and all of that. So I totally get that. But I do think that as your career evolves, or even as a human being in your life evolves, that matters less.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And I think that one of the ways that you can show that you're excellent is knowing when those events are. Like if you're in a company and most of it is virtual, like being proactive in knowing when are the opportunities to be in person and in front of the boss, in front of the supervisor, to show, you're committed to the team and contribute to the morale and all of those things. Dr. Angeline, what do you think?
So I agree with Nomalanga. I also think that I also asked, what did we do with COVID when we couldn't go in, right? And we were still getting promoted. So I kind of call BS on Emma a little bit. And especially when I saw the name of her company was called The Good American. That is the mindset of this country, right? And to me, I do understand. And yes, when I was younger, I wanted to be there, right? I wanted to learn. I wanted to do everything. And even if she is British, guess what? It's their mindset too. So, and she's adapted here, right? And so when I think about that, I'm like, no, I'm with you, sis. No, I'm not doing all of that now. And even when I was working from home, and still do sometimes, I knew when the meetings were, I was there. I knew when we had events, I came in not only for the events, but to help put things together, to make sure things were ready and prepared to help assist, right, my team. And so again, yes, it goes back to knowing when to be there. It goes back to knowing what are those important moments to be there. I feel like a lot of this too is access to the systems of power, right? It goes back to these systems and these structures and how they're designed, and and you look at what we're doing now. Our young people they're rebuilding all of this stuff. They're saying we're not doing all of this. We're going to do some rebuilding and rebranding. And so I know when we were mandated to come back in the building, some of it was political. Some of it was we tired of paying for all these buildings and these offices and nobody sitting in them.
Mhm.
although the work was still getting done, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's a myriad of things that goes into this whole conversation. So
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And that's why I'm having a hard time understanding what the problem is, because we've been doing this now on a large scale for what, six years at this point. And
Mhm.
throughout those 6 years, like I have heard, stats about productivity being up. Then you hear stats about productivity being down. And
Mhm.
again, this may be industry specific, but Aisha, what do you think? Can you build a strong professional relationship remotely? And if you can, what are some of the ways that you can do that? Or what are some ways that working remotely you think may hinder someone from building that professional relationship?
You can absolutely build a business virtually. People have, I think when COVID happened, all the BS went out the window. We know it can be done,
Hmm.
but somebody has to have that discipline, right? Structure and focus. We know that. And everything that Emma said to me made sense too. When I was 18, 20, in the industry, trying to do well to show who I was, that made sense then. And I love what Noma said. But I've earned where I'm at today. I'm glad people want to raise their hand. They want to be rah rah and do great in the front. Great for them. I have
Hmm.
worked enough in my life that I don't need to do that any longer. I'm
Yeah.
fine, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think that we have to know that about ourselves. And my husband works out of home, but when COVID happened, he worked just fine with no problem. So now even my confidence spills onto him. When
Mhm.
something maybe I have to go somewhere because I'm working remotely, and we train virtually, but we build in person. Meaning we have events, we go together, see each other, hug, talk, feel our energy. But sometimes, I said, no, sweetie, you can work from home. You don't need to be there. And he said, no, you're right. And guess what? Sometimes he can stay home for 3 days and not have to go to work. Just because some 40-year-old, 20-year person say you should come to the office because they want to
Mhm.
build a business, good for you. We
Right.
have a family to look after. My wife is traveling and I'm going to be the home dad. I'm going to stay home with my kids and take care of my kids. So this idea that there's only one side fits all, to me, it doesn't make any sense, because
Mhm.
we can merge both of them together. And if I have somebody that tells me you have to be in person all the time, I'll tell them, well, good luck, because I think that you can do both. You can
Yeah.
definitely build a great business virtually and meet your team in person, just to have that camaraderie, because we need each other. We do need that energy, but it doesn't have to
Mhm.
be all the time. And you have to be here. I want to see you. Well, you're going to be looking at the mirror because I'm not going to be there. Right?
So
Virtual.
it sounds like, yeah, it sounds like what we're all saying is it's based on where you are in your life.
Yes.
When you're younger and you're more gritty and you're trying to, a lot of times when you're younger too, the career that you start off in is not even the career that you end up in. So you're willing to do all these different things because you're learning different skills, and that is valuable. Raising your hand saying, I can do this, I can do that. You're learning different skills and it's valuable. And she says she hires people that are in office. Yeah, I think that for her and her business, maybe that's the model. I don't
Exactly.
know a lot about her industry and what exactly she does, but maybe that's the model that it makes more sense for her to have people in her business who are actually in the office. So we're going
Absolutely.
to go to another video and check that out. Okay, we're not hearing that.
I got deadbeat Wi-Fi, so I was just thinking, oh man, my Wi-Fi not working.
Like it's me, it's not
I said,
y'all.
oh, it's me. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you ladies this. Have any of you personally, do you know someone who got promoted based on like going back to the office or visibility over the performance of being behind the scenes or remote? Any of you have any friends or family members who have gotten promoted because they went back to the office?
To me, it's been the same. There's no any difference.
Yeah.
There hasn't been anything. Oh wow, you're back in the office. Nothing. They're doing just more. It's the same thing. It hasn't changed.
I
Right?
actually have a friend who, so she works in healthcare, and a lot of it is on the phones anyway. But she has actually, because she works remotely now, she's got promoted like twice over in the past couple years, because specifically because her, you know, her boss, her supervisor sees the productivity that she's doing, and they have a system where they can track when you're on the phone, how long you're on the phone for, and when you're off and things like that. And she's gotten promoted because of that productivity. And I think that there's a big thing to be said about, oh, Deborah said, nope, no volume. There's a big thing to be said about moms specifically and women specifically, and how to balance that work-life thing, because, you know, I think we're all entrepreneurs here, right? So we're able to kind of be flexible. I cannot imagine if I had to be in the office at 8 a.m. and not out of the office until 4:35. How do your kids get to school? Who picks them up? Who makes them, like, the corporate work structure is not necessarily built for women to progress there and be moms. And I feel like, is this a patriarchy thing? Like, wanting people to come back to the office, is it now trying to eliminate women from actually progressing how they've been progressing over the past several years and decade? What do you guys think?
I don't think it stops you, because I lived that life with our older two children. Now they're 20 and 17. And when they were little, I remember, let me just say as a disclaimer, at that point in life, I was prone to like having a total meltdown. Like anything could set me off crying hysterically because it was just really hard to do it, right?
Yeah.
But I used to get up at 5 a.m., get them both ready because they were both in daycare, drive like crazy to the daycare, then drive like crazy to work. And then I mean, it's crazy. At one point I was even breastfeeding, and at work I'd be dashing off to go pump my breast because I was determined to have my child only have breast milk. It was exhausting. It was traumatizing. But at the time, one thing about women, we could be so resilient. At the time, it just was just doing what I have to do, you know? And then I'd always have to kind of see, I think I worked until 5:30, but also the daycare closed at 5:30. So I'd sometimes take a shorter lunch, and then try to sneak off every day at 10 to 5 so that I could be at the daycare. Then I'd have to rush home, play with them, feed them, bathe them, you know. So you can do it, but it really will stretch you. And mind you, we were a two-parent home, but it doesn't change the fact that the burden oftentimes is on the mom a lot of times, to the point where sometimes if a kid is sick and their dad comes, they'll be like, where's mom?
Yeah.
So where's my mom? I want my mom.
Yes.
So it definitely does fall on us more. It is possible. But to this day, one of the reasons why I really, really advocate for putting your home first is because I did it the other way around first, and I know what I'm talking about. It will drain you. It'll kill you. It will make you ill. And it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make it. And so why is this? So that is, we'll go to the video and we'll come back to that point, because why is the system set up that way? If you want women in the workforce and you want women to be moms and be wives and things like that, what do we need to do with this system that makes it complementary or able to be done without us saying we can do it because we're resilient? Okay, we can do it because we have to do what we have to do. And so okay, let's go to the video. We'll come back and talk about it. Oh, can't hear it. And not hearing that one. So yeah, while she's getting the video audio together, part of the issue that really, really bothers me is how the system is set
Stunting
up.
your career growth, here's why. as a techie, naturally, I just do what I'm told to do. And in my first role, I did what I was told to do. And I didn't really understand why I wasn't getting selected to like lead certain things. I was just kind of like waiting for an opportunity to speak up in certain meetings versus like, I didn't know that I should do one-on-ones with my manager. But even then, I also didn't know I should do one-on-ones with my manager's manager. And I didn't know like, you know, what to talk about in those meetings and how to structure those. So people need to know who you are in order to promote you. So that's number one. But also the in-person connections are really helpful because if you ever get laid off, people will already know who you are in order to give you a job. For example, I did a lot of hackathons in my tech center. I volunteered a lot in the tech center. So people started to recognize me based on those things, and they were curious about my technical skills, and then I'm able to show them. I'm also able to just walk downstairs and knock on a director's door and say, hey, what are your thoughts on X, Y, and Z? And that's how I get mentors in high places. And so when I'm ready for a new job, whether it be within the company or outside the company, I have this person who has my back. So I think that a lot of people get very comfortable in remote jobs and it doesn't give you the visibility that you need. I've met so many people in the office and I've been given so many opportunities to just walk up to leadership and tell them who I am in person. Like, it was a natural interaction that I was never going to get from working fully remote. So, you know, you got to take your career into your own hands. And I know that I probably didn't answer all the questions here. So ask me any questions that you have in the bottom.
Okay, that depending on, we don't know what industry she's in, right? So in a certain
She
industry,
said tech.
Okay, tech. Okay, so in that industry, maybe you do need to be more front facing with the office and the managers and things like that. Let's go to the chat really quick. Let's see. Deborah said, oh, double AA82 said, yes, Deborah, I'm proof. Deborah said remote workers are getting promoted 100%. I agree. I know a lot. Dennis said, I'm grateful to have a womanator and a mentor. What is a woman? What is a womanator? Let us know what that is. Deborah said, my daughter works remotely and in the office, and she loves having the duality. That's a thing
What's
too.
the whole point? Yeah, why is that one or the other?
Right, right. So what the young lady was saying about her visibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was able to progress once she started realizing that she needs to have one-on-ones with her manager and needs to have one-on-ones with her manager's manager.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like also, and I haven't been in corporate for a long time, right? Over 20 years. But I think it's important, and the employer should take onus on telling folks how they can be successful, especially if it's in a remote work environment, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to just say, here is what we require, and you do that, but you're not really telling people, or you're telling certain people how they can do better, right?
Right.
So, you know, I do think that, yes, you should take initiative, but sometimes you don't know what to ask. You don't know what questions you have until you have a conversation, right? Or until you talk to someone and they say, oh, you need to be doing A, B, and C. So can we share in the responsibility of the employer saying, this is how you can be successful in this role, even though you're, you know, remote? So how do you get noticed and not become a secret? What do you think, Dr. Angeline?
So I just want to say that, especially for Black women, just because you show up doesn't mean you're seen. So we still have to deal with being invisible right in the midst of the office. We still have to deal with being undervalued, even when we're doing the work. What I heard from this young lady, right, is somebody who's starting out.
Right.
She's looking for a mentor because she didn't have that. And as you stated, the office expected her not knowing, right? Because I know sometimes at my age, sometimes I don't know what to ask, right? Or I don't know that I should have known, right, in certain things. And so leaving the responsibility to this young lady who apparently was not mentored at some point in time, even before she got to that job, speaks volumes about the office. But I know for a lot of my friends who work from home, Black women especially, they feel more protected from the microaggressions again, from the office culture. You know, that whole invisibility, and I think that that's another part of it. And I think it was Nomalanga that said it, or Aisha, you know, where are you looking to go, right? What are you looking to do? And yeah, when I was younger, oh yeah, I wanted to hurry up and go to work. I didn't know no better, right? I was like, I love what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm ready to go to work. Programmed by structures, programmed by systems. And one thing I do want to share this, we always talk about how resilient we are, but I really don't like that word in that context, because we are being celebrated for winning and surviving in systems that was never built for us, in systems that were never built for us to win. Yes. And so that's the labor and the laboriousness that is put on our backs. And then you want to congratulate us for making it on the other side. So yes. I'm real leery about that word resilient. It really triggers me sometimes, because I know that's the white supremacy that I dealt with in grad school. Oh my God, you're so resilient. Well, why are you doing your white supremacy crap and I won't have to be? How about that? Right? So that's why I love the working from home, because I don't have to always deal with that. Now, sometimes you do have to deal with it on screen as well, on Zoom or whatever. But overall, yeah.
I feel you, Dr. Angeline. I totally 100% feel you on that resilience, and the fact that we're expected to be resilient and expected to be so strong. And it's like, we should not have to be, because the system shouldn't be set up for us to struggle as we do. So I totally agree with that. Deborah said, yes, Dr. Angeline, those microaggressions are horrible. They are. And then Dennis said, "Whoa, mentor." Got it. Whoa, mentor. Okay. So I had another question. Do you guys think that women are being specifically pressured to return to the office? And if so, why? Do you think that that's a thing? Aisha, what do you think?
I thought about that, and I think that honestly, at the end of the day, it just depends on the industry that you're in, right? And the person. Some people really need to be with other people. It's just how they're built. They want to work with other people. They thrive when they work with other people. And then some people are fine either way. They can either be with people or not be with other people. And some actually thrive when they work by themselves. So I think it just depends on the industry and the individual. For me, I've been so blessed that I haven't had all those experiences where there's this office politics. There is, but it's not where it affects me so much, because in my industry, when I started as a young person, I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted to become, and I worked towards it. And I did the work because I wanted to be that. I didn't need anybody to tell me what to do. Some people do need that, but I didn't. And I didn't ask anybody to do anything for me. My job and what I did spoke for itself. So then the promotion came when it was time. So then when I went to the promotion, it was truly earned. I didn't have to prove anything to anybody. And then when I had my kids, I stayed home 100%. So when COVID happened, and then now we stayed home and transition when I went back to work, and we're now working virtually, I love both. I love when we train on Zoom, we pull out all the graphs, talk about things, and then we build in person, right? Meaning I get to see you, we talk, we do the Mastermind Alliance, and we strategize. Absolutely. So I think sometimes just listen to us talk, and for the women, it just depends on what you're willing to do. Right now, I'm not willing to go to where I'll be going to office every day. It's not possible. I have my children, my family is my number one priority, because at the end of the day, who is going to tell me well done? Because I can get a trophy for saying well done, and my kids can hate me. I'm sorry. I don't want that. I'm not interested in it, and all of that. It's great, but that's not my focus. Why can't I be able to balance that, so that way, if I get a trophy, my kids see me happy and winning, instead of my kids see me like strung out, frustrated, dragging them left and right, and here's a trophy. Well, I don't want that. I don't want that. I think all of us here, we're not longer in our 20s. We've earned where we are today, where we get to pick and choose what we want to do. Today, I don't mind going to the office. Today, I'm not going to the office. And that's okay. I don't have to be forced to show up as a woman. I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. So
Yes.
that's how I feel about the whole women going back to the, no, it depends on what I'm doing. And if I don't want to do that, I want to have the choice and flexibility not to do that. That doesn't mean I'm not doing my job. It just means that I'm in a different location.
So what I hear is the four of us kind of being in agreement that it really, like I said before, like it depends on your life circumstances, but it depends on where you are in your life cycle, right? But so the young ladies and the young lady that just spoke and Emma has said, you know, you need to be out there. You need to be raising your hand. You need to be, you know, in your boss's face. So how about we take this back 20, 15 years, right? Let's take this back. And what about advice for younger women, right? Now, we're thinking about younger women who have maybe come out of college. Maybe they didn't go to college, but maybe they're starting a career. Maybe they're, you know, working their way up. Maybe they are moms. Maybe they are not moms yet. Maybe they're not married yet. How do they get noticed in this environment of virtual and working remote? How do they get noticed and not become a secret? Because I think we've established that for us, we don't really care about that at this point. But for the younger women who are coming up and starting and trying to get a foothold in their careers and they work remote, how do they get noticed and not become a secret? What are some practical ways that they can do that? Noma, what do you think?
So this comes up a lot, as well as it should. Mentorship, masterminds, and coaching. Those are the anchors of success. It doesn't really matter where you're applying it, whether it's your career, whether it's your business, whether it's your mothering, your wifing, your business building, whatever it is. Those are things that you need. I was listening to that young lady who was the techie talking about, I was doing everything. I was meeting my, deadlines and everything, but I wasn't getting promoted. Well, if she had had a mentor in that industry or in that company, they would have told her that do X, Y, and Z, and this will get you ahead. And I do want to, acknowledge what Dr. Angeline says. About like you could do all of that, just being Black, is like being blackballed sometimes. So sometimes it really doesn't matter how hard you work, you're going to still deal with the prejudices and the biases. But if we put those aside, I will say there's no way when you're just entering into a field to know what to ask, to know what to do, and all of those things. And it makes mentorship so important. I can remember when I was, I got a tenure track professor position and I think I was just 30 years old. I was just excited because this was my dream and I didn't think it would happen until I was 40 or 50 years old, So I was just ready to get in there. But I was so lucky. I remember one of my mentors was somebody who had marched like a civil rights era, who just understood that a young Black professional needs to do X, Y, and Z to be successful. And they would pull me aside and they would give me a list of, okay, and they'd give me the forms. Make sure you fill this out. This is where you get the extra money. This is where you get notice. This is what you need to attend. Every single semester, they were like parents, literally, and they were mentoring me. Like, did you do it? Did you go there? I know I didn't see, and you need that.
Was this a mentor in the company?
Yeah, it was another college professor who had been there for 30, 40 years. And this was like maybe my first year. And wasn't even in my field because I was in the business department. He was a lawyer who actually owned his own law firm, but he was teaching law at the university or at the college. And then there was another one in the psychology department. But the thing is, that's how they behaved. They literally had their eyes out like, oh, there comes a young Black professional. Get her, make sure she knows, bring her in. Let's do this. Let's make sure. And they would call you. They would come to you. And that's when I started understanding that mentorship is so important. I already knew because I had run businesses and failed miserably. And only when I got mentorship did I really start to be successful. So I already knew, but they didn't let me not get mentorship. They really, and if there isn't that, because it's not always going to be that, you have to be working hard to get mentorship just in the same way that you would work hard to get to work or get to whatever, because that will either make you or it'll break you. And also sometimes you can work so hard and think you're doing everything right, and you'll be so frustrated because there's some missing pieces of information, and a mentor is there to kind of help you through that process.
I'm glad that you mentioned mentorship. That's huge. I think that, and this is what I've heard from like cousins, like my little cousins, girls who are actually, one is at Emerson, and who are actually trying to, get their footing and things like that, trying to get a mentor. Like, I want a mentor. Like, how do I go about getting a mentor? So maybe after the video, we can talk a little bit about who they should be asking for mentorship and what they should be giving in return, because a lot of people just think like it's a free reign to just ask the questions, right? And it should be like a symbiotic type relationship. So let's go to a video and then we'll come back to that.
Balance. But now you're working from your bed, answering emails at midnight, and wondering why you're still burned out. Let's be real. Working remotely doesn't mean you're working less. It often means you're always available. That commute you cut, it got replaced with back-to-back Zooms. That flexibility you were promised turned into a blurred line between your home and your job. Slack pings at 9 p.m., morning meetings before coffee, and that creeping guilt when you're not constantly online. You're not alone. So here's my advice if you're drowning in remote overwhelm. 1, block your calendar like your life depends on it. If you don't protect your time, someone else will take it. Number 2, define your off hours and stick to them. Treat them like non-negotiable meetings. Number 3, communicate boundaries early and often. People can't respect what you don't declare. And most importantly, log off without apologizing. You're not a machine. You don't need to earn rest. You need to protect it. Burnout doesn't make you a top performer. It makes you replaceable. Comment elite to subscribe to my news.
She gave a couple of gems there. I love the boundaries and the log off without apologizing, because I have friends who are like, oh, I'm so tired of these Zoom after Zoom after Zoom. And sometimes you stay on afterwards too, because you want to be visible. Like sometimes there's a meeting, and then I know I've been on these meetings, right? There's a meeting and then people are talking afterwards. And because you want to be visible in that circle, you stay on and things like that. But I can see how you would need to have some boundaries, especially when you're working remotely and you have all of those meetings. Deborah said, yes, definitely stick to your work hours. I have a problem with that myself. So what do you guys think about that? The boundaries. I never really, I'm not in the corporate world. And so again, depending on the company and the culture and the actual work that you're doing in the industry, what do you think about boundaries? I never thought about that when it comes to like working remotely. Like, what kind of boundaries should you have in place? Dr. Angeline, what do you think? What kind of boundaries do you think you should have in place when you're working remotely?
So when she said that, before she even said it, I was like, oh, sis, you ain't got no boundaries. That's the first thing I was thinking about when she started naming all of those things. But I do want to, but again, right, I'm older. I'm more positioned. I can say certain things, but I want to even go back to that young person trying to work in corporate. Let's be real. Some of them can't do that. Some of them are even scared to set boundaries, right? I see it all the time now with some of the young girls that I mentor. And so when I hear some of the things that their supervisors may say to them, or how their supervisors may treat them, there are some things they tolerate because they need a job. And so we have those conversations about how much are you going to tolerate, right? Like, is this right? Is this something you need to fight about, or is this something you can handle? So all of that again goes with mentoring, and it's easy for us, right, to say this is what we're going to do because we're in these positions now. But I'm thinking about the young girls who I mentor, and for some of them, they're still learning how to get their voice. They're still learning that they have a voice. They're still learning their self-worth. They're still learning their value. They're coming straight out of college, some of them. For some of them, this might be their real first job, their real first professional job. So things are going to be trial and error for them. And so it's helping them navigate those spaces. If your job is abuse, then absolutely not. We got to find something else, right? Because there are some things that we all have had to deal with when we worked in those spaces that we just had to kind of, all right, I'm gonna let that one go, right? Like that type of thing. And know what we could let go and then what was just like, no, you really crossed the boundary when you said this or when you did this. So I think, again, I'm just thinking about the young women that come to me and have asked me, would you be my mentor, right? And one of my first questions that I ask them is, what are you looking for? And sometimes they don't know. Right? And so it's working through that with them right there from the very beginning, that even like, I don't have to be your only mentor, right? So I can give you this, but you may need a mentor that can give you this. And so let's talk about what that looks like. Let's talk about what you're looking for in that person. And so as Nomalanga said, it's so important to grab some of these young women as the professor snatched her up, right? And to let them know that you're available, or when they're coming to you, also let them know that I'm going to say things that you may not like, you may not want to hear, but you're going to have to hear it. And if you can't, then I might not be the one that's available to mentor you.
Got it. Thank you for that. Aisha, do you think that employees should adapt to whatever it is the employer wants, as far as like, let's say they're working remotely and working from home, and now all of a sudden there's a switch and it's like, nope, you got to be back in the office. So should employees just like adapt, or should the companies change their systems in this regards?
I think when it comes to adaptability, whether it's a company or the individual, I think that communication is going to be key, right? I like to know, what are the parameters of my work? What can I do from the office only? And what can I do from home sometimes if I need to be at home? Because why do you think that we did so well during pandemic? Productivity actually went high because people can go maybe walk their dog and then come back refreshed and attack the job and do so much better with a clear mind, not this pressure or micromanaging over them, right? They're able to do well. So I think maybe after the time, if the company say, oh, we all have to go to work, if that job is important to my family and I gain value and I think it's taking me to where I want to go, fine, I won't mind going. I'll go to the office and then see where we can, pivot and say, okay, well, I can do this from the office. If you need me in the office Monday to Day, I'll be here. But is it okay if I go, if I'm home on Fridays, right? And work from home on Fridays? So I think it's a matter of communication, like honestly, because I think it's a lie if somebody tells us today that it can be done.
Right.
Because we did it. None of us went out, we did it. So what changed all of a sudden? What changed? Because you want to pay the rent of the building, so you want me to be there. That is the only reason. Some professions, you have to be there, I get it. But there has to be flexibility somewhere where I can be home on a Friday to do my work if I have to be, because my wife is going out of town and I need to pick up my kid from school. I shouldn't have to beg you, like, please give me a time off. No. It almost takes away the dignity of a person, because you have to look at this person and beg them for something, right? So it's about communication and understanding the parameters of what I'm doing and knowing how I can pivot if I need to get my job done, whether I'm in the office or at home. Because I've had to do that as a mom, a wife, and it's worked.
Communication and negotiation.
I can negotiate. And I understand about it, and I also understand about the visibility, especially for the young people. say you want to be visible because you're young, you want to grow, you want to be seen, you want to be promoted. I get it. Then that time of your life, you can do that. But there's a time of your life as well where you're like, no, it's not negotiable for me because I've done that already. And if I wasn't seen then, what is going to make it change now? Makes sense? Like, well, like, what part of that am I missing? That I've done it when I was 20, 30, now I'm 40, 50, and now I should do the same thing again. It's almost like you're not growing. Like I'm still stuck back in the beginning of when I was 21. So I think it's really communication and understanding the parameters of your work, and also doing your job with excellence. So they know that it's not about my quality of my work now. It's just about whether you want to control my time and where I should be
part of it. I think that's part of it in some instances. We have some stats. We're going to go to some stats. Nearly 60% of remote workers say they feel less visible to leadership. And again, I'm interested to know what industries those are. Women still earn about 82 cents for every dollar earned by men, and gaps widen at higher levels. So sad. Only about 1 in 3 women working mostly remote have been promoted in the last 2 years. That's interesting. 51% of remote workers say they haven't received a promotion since going remote. Wow, 51%. Okay, remote workers are promoted 31% less often than in-office workers. Where are the stats coming from? That's my question. Where are the stats coming from? What industries? Who are they polling to get this information? But I can definitely see how in some instances that would be the case. Also, people have relocated just because they were working remote. Like I know I'm in real estate, right? I had a ton of clients like, yes, during COVID, we can move wherever we want to now because we can work remote. So now having a mandate, I know that some companies had a mandate that you come back to the office. That has caused an upheaval for some people too. All right, y'all. So we have another video. Let's go to our video.
But I am ready to get hurt again. Remote work can be a very isolating experience. Depending on your personality type, I think we should always have it as an option. Everyone's life looks different, everyone's career looks different, but it can become a rather isolating scenario that sometimes exacerbates communication issues. There is something about a commute that can be a really decompressing thing. And no, you're definitely not going to get along with everyone you work with, but you can so much more easily form friendly interpersonal relationships with your colleagues when you see them on a regular cadence. It's where a lot of sidebar conversation can happen, and there's just some baked in separation. Also, it's much harder to get promoted if people aren't seeing your work and seeing you on a regular basis. And this depends on your role, it depends on your company, it depends on where you sit in the org chart. I have supported the C-suite for most of my career. No one is saying that one thing is right for everyone, but remote work can fully become a uniquely isolating sort of experience for a lot of people.
Yeah, if you're single.
I can see how that could be true too.
Yeah.
If you're just talking to your screen all day and it's just your screen, your coffee, you know what I'm saying? I can see how that could be, especially if you're an extrovert. Like you like people, you like being in social situations, that can be an issue also. So I think that there are issues with, both sides of it, right?
There's no issue. It's just I don't think there's any issue. It's funny to me. I'm like, you can do both. It just depends on what you're doing. Like, why is it one or the other? People are like, no.
Well, I think the thing is, it's only one or the other if the employer is mandating that, like it has to be this or that. I think that most people would probably say, oh, I want a little bit of this and a little bit of that, so they can have a little variety. So yeah. Interesting topic today.
You know what Anonymous said? The C-suite is full of psychopaths.
Would you say?
No, Anonymous said that.
Oh, psychopaths?
Yeah, no, so the C-suite is full of psychopaths.
Oh.
The video said the C-suite is full of psychopaths.
I mean, let's go to final thoughts, y'all. Nomalanga, what is your final thought on our topic today?
That's so funny.
So just trying to keep it short. Final thoughts. I would say that just reiterate the importance of mentorship as early as possible. I know that right now we're talking about careers, and career does have the ability to affect the rest of your life. In other words, if you're miserable at work, it can make your whole life miserable. So it's definitely an important thing. But I also want to just suggest something that's a little bit different. When you are in, let's say, I remember there was a lady called the Princeton Mom who talked about how young ladies, when they go to Princeton or any other university, their mindset has to be, this is where you're going to meet the best quality men. So go in there, absolutely get your education, but understand you're going to be in a whole college full of Ivy League future CEOs, future everything. So what she was really trying to do is get your mind right in terms of what does my future look like? Who do I want to partner with? What decisions should I be making now that will affect the rest of my life? And is who I choose as a partner going to be allow me later on to step back and be a mom, step back and just be a wife, whatever. I hate that word just, and be a wife, full-time wife. So it's very important early on to make a decision about what you want your future to be, and then get the mentorship so that you're getting the information to shape the trajectory of your life. So that's just my main thing, is just get the mentorship and think ahead so that you don't suddenly find yourself in your 20s or 30s with children and not knowing what to do with them because your manager says you got to come in. So these are final thoughts. So I guess I got to tell you where to find me. My name is Nomalanga Khaburoni. You can find me at the business school. I have 2 courses there. One of them teaches you how to emancipate yourself from the workplace and work for yourself full time. I actually did that course 10 years ago, and everything that we taught 10 years ago is still relevant today. I did it with Dr. Boyce Watkins. It's called Fire Your Boss. Then the other course is about teaching mothers how to homeschool their children. And I've always said that homeschooling isn't always about taking your children out of the school system. Sometimes they stay in, and you supplement with a good homeschool curriculum, especially if it's Black children and especially if they're in the public school system. So you can find those 2 courses at the Black Business School. And then also pathforourgirls.com. Please do support us. What we do is we support young girls who experience period poverty. Sometimes they miss school because they don't have sanitary supplies. We support them. The smallest donation counts. Please go to pathforourgirls.com. And as always, I want to thank our Fly Nubian Money and Fly Nubian Queen family because they really do support our charity.
Awesome. Thank you, Nomalanga. Aisha, how about you? Final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Working either virtually or in the office, honestly, it just depends on your industry and your personality and what you can do. I definitely believe that if you have the right mentors and you have a plan and your self-starter, your discipline, your focus, you can do it. You can do it. And there should be a way for you to personally find a way you can balance your time. And I can share with all of you that I'm in an industry where I truly believe it allows me to do that, allows me to be at home with my family. And if I do the work, I am visible. I don't have to beg anyone or prove anything. My numbers speak. I don't have to call anyone to say, did you see what I do? Or did you see what? No, just because of the work that I did. Mm-hmm. They see it, and you get your promotion with no question asked, no red tape, no calling anyone, no begging anyone. So if you're interested in that, talk to me. I can, because sometimes you just never know. Maybe that's what will help you, free you to have that autonomy and what that you're looking for. Talk to me. I can help you. And somebody was asking about insurance. That is, if I'm the insurance girl in the panel, because she was asking, who is the person? Please call me or reach out to me. But I truly believe that we can do we can do what works for our family. Nobody should dictate to you what will work for your family. You have to make that decision for yourself. If you're starting out, get the mentors, learn quickly, but be ready to work hard quickly so that you can get to where you want to be, so you can call the shots. Because we as human beings, we have the right to have dignity and not to be forced or pressed to do something just because we're working for someone. That because at the end of the day, the person that I want to say well done is God Almighty, not another human being. So think about that when whatever you decide to do. But if you want something that gives that flexibility and autonomy, really, talk to me, because there are places you can do that without anybody stopping you from growing. You can have that peace of mind and joy and true fulfillment in what you do. You can find me at AishaVersey.com or at the Black Business School as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Dr. Angeline.
All right, I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. Okay, everything that everybody said, rewatch the video if you need to hear some more stuff. And just real quick, if you're single, I am single, so no, ladies, you are not isolated just because you're single. All right, I still got a life outside of here. I am Dr. Angeline Dean, founder of Melanated Neurons Communiverse, an identity affirming STEAM, STEM mini museum in a box subscription box for Black children ages 7 through 12. You can find me at info@melanatedneurons.com or Intersystems with a Z on the end .rocks.
Y'all heard that? info@melanatedneurons.com. Go there and hit up Dr. Angeline. I love that. Museum in the box. I'm gonna hit you up, Dr. Angeline. All right, I'm gonna be super quick. Okay, so my final thoughts, just some words to ponder on. Mentorship, boundaries, negotiation, and purposeful visibility. I am Shalaye with Vital Source Realty here in Boston, Massachusetts, and I can help you buy real estate or sell real estate anywhere in the United States, and I'd love to help my B1 family. So reach out to me. You can reach me at vitalsourcerealty.com, and you can also follow me on YouTube and Instagram at Shalaye Camillo. Y'all, thank you so much for having this conversation with us today. It was very interesting. And we will see you tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what that is in all the other time frames, but 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm in Boston, y'all. Peace. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.